You've probably seen it yourself. Someone defending a politician who lies straight to their face. A celebrity doing something mind-numbingly dumb, and still getting praised for it. People latching on to trends that make no sense, screaming outrage over things they barely understand. And you can't help but wonder, how? How can someone be so confident and so wrong? Why do so many people proudly support things that are obviously stupid? The reasons are not very simple. There's something deeper happening. In recent years, a strange and unsettling phenomenon has been quietly unfolding. One that feels more like the plot of a dystopian novel than reality, the slow death of critical thinking. While our raw intelligence may not be declining, something far more important is slipping away. Our ability to think clearly, reason logically, and stay intellectually humble. What some are now calling a stupidity epidemic isn't a sudden collapse of intellect. It's more insidious than that. It's a gradual erosion, one that's led to a world where misinformation spreads faster than truth, and outrage often drowns out reason. But how did we get here? Why is this happening? And what forces are driving this growing epidemic of intellectual laziness? That's what we'll discuss in this video point by point. Blind tribalism. Tribal outrage gives us a role to play, an enemy to fight, and a sense of purpose. Humans have always been tribal. Long before modern civilization, our survival depended on being part of a group. And while we've evolved in countless ways, this instinct to divide the world into us and them still runs deep in our psychology today. This is at the core of what social psychologists call social identity theory. The idea that a significant part of our self-worth comes from the groups we belong to. When our group is praised, we feel pride. When it's criticized, we feel personally attacked. As a result, people don't just disagree with opposing views. They treat them like threats to their very existence. And that's where stupidity begins to spread. The more uncertain we are, the more tribal we become. In times of fear and confusion, the mind craves clarity. Tribalism offers that clarity in the simplest form: us versus them, right versus wrong, safe versus dangerous. It's emotionally satisfying because it relieves us from the hard work of thinking. Instead of seeking truth, we start seeking validation. Today, tribalism isn't limited to politics or religion. It's become about identity itself. It's about defining who you are by defining who you're against. And once you've joined a tribe, questioning its beliefs is seen as betrayal. Thinking for yourself becomes a kind of treason. That's why people cling to the dumbest ideas, even when those ideas are clearly false. Because the truth is hard. It demands thought, reflection, and often discomfort. Anger, on the other hand, is easy. And when it's shared by your tribe, it doesn't just feel easy, it feels righteous, even if everything you're yelling is completely wrong. You can see the same pattern in George Orwell's 1984. Every day, citizens take part in a ritual called the 2 minutes hate. Together, they scream at the enemies of the state and praise Big Brother in perfect unison. There's no reflection, no critical thinking, just a sea of people shouting the same slogans, thinking the same thoughts. Because deviation is dangerous. The tribe must be preserved, even if that means embracing lies. And this is the heart of the stupidity epidemic, the death of independent thought in exchange for collective affirmation. The unwillingness or inability to challenge the group, to think critically, or to question popular delusions. We've stopped thinking for ourselves. We've chosen belonging over truth, and the cost is staggering. Digital echo chambers and engineered distraction. We are not thinking machines that feel, we are feeling machines that think. Tech platforms today aren't neutral tools of information. There's no denying they've been useful, but they've also become engines of manipulation. Built to maximize engagement at all costs, they don't prioritize truth, nuance, or balance. What captures attention isn't careful thought, it's outrage. Not reasoned analysis, but sensationalism. Not curiosity, but confirmation bias. These platforms have become highly efficient factories of intellectual decay. Their systems are designed not to inform you, but to keep you scrolling. They feed you content that reinforces your beliefs and shields you from anything that might challenge them. Every click, like, and swipe teaches the machine what makes your brain light up, and it delivers more of it, over and over again. Slowly, your digital world turns into a hall of mirrors. You're not seeing reality, you're seeing your own biases reflected back at you. It is like when someone said, "When everyone is thinking the same, no one is really thinking at all." In this environment, stupidity doesn't just survive, it flourishes. Not because we've lost the ability to think, but because we're no longer being pushed to. These digital systems reward emotional simplicity over intellectual depth. They don't challenge us with complex ideas. They feed us memes, outrage clips, and tribal sound bites. And we keep consuming them. Psychologists call this confirmation bias, our tendency to seek out and cling to information that supports what we already believe. These systems exploit that flaw relentlessly. They don't challenge us. They comfort us. They affirm us. And they keep us intellectually stagnant. This isn't just a theory, it's something we were warned about. Ray Bradbury's Fahrenheit 451 envisioned a future where books were banned and burned, but not simply because of tyranny, because society chose ease over thought. People became addicted to wall-sized screens feeding them shallow entertainment. Independent thinking faded, and in a grim twist, it was the people themselves who stopped reading, stopped questioning, and willingly embraced their own mental sedation. As Bradbury put it, you don't have to burn books to destroy a culture. Just get people to stop reading them. Today, we're not burning books, we're just ignoring them. We've traded critical thinking for instant gratification. We recognize memes more easily than we can finish a news article. We scroll endlessly, but rarely sit with difficult ideas. Artificial intelligence doesn't have to destroy human intelligence. It just has to distract us long enough for us to stop using it. Think about how often we outsource our thinking to machines. Even when driving, we rely on GPS, sometimes for routes we've taken before. I've done it myself, followed directions so mindlessly that I arrived without knowing how I got there. Ask me to retrace the path without Google or ChatGPT, and I'm lost. It's like we're no longer navigating the world, we're being navigated through it. In this world, stupidity isn't an accident. It's a feature, and there's still one more major force feeding this epidemic of ignorance. The Dunning-Kruger effect. The trouble with the world is that the stupid are cocksure and the intelligent are full of doubt. In our hyper-connected digital age, where every voice has a platform and every opinion can go viral, a strange pattern keeps repeating itself. The loudest voices are often the least informed, and disturbingly, they are also the most confident. This paradox is explained by a well-documented psychological bias known as the Dunning-Kruger effect, named after researchers David Dunning and Justin Kruger. At its core, the Dunning-Kruger effect shows how people with low competence in a subject tend to dramatically overestimate their abilities. Why? Because the same lack of knowledge that makes them bad at something also prevents them from recognizing their own ignorance. They don't know enough to know what they don't know. But this isn't just an academic curiosity. It has serious real-world consequences. Before the internet, if someone was misinformed, their influence was mostly limited to their immediate circle. But now, someone with almost no understanding of a complex issue can broadcast their half-baked opinions to millions. And the more confident or outrageous they are, the more attention they get. Meanwhile, actual experts, who often speak with nuance and humility, are drowned out in the noise. This creates a terrifying inversion of credibility. The less you know, the louder you shout. And the louder you shout, the more influence you gain. This is especially dangerous because social media rewards confidence, not competence. Platforms don't care if your take is accurate, they care if it's engaging. So we end up in a world where uninformed certainty spreads like wildfire, while well-researched perspectives go unnoticed. I won't go into more detail here about the Dunning-Kruger effect itself, because I've already made a deep dive video on that very topic. You can find the link in the description if you want to explore this psychological trap further. What matters for now is that this cognitive bias fuels a broader trend we're seeing across society, the normalization of misinformation. The normalization of misinformation. The point of modern propaganda isn't only to misinform or push an agenda. It is to exhaust your critical thinking, to annihilate truth. In today's digital landscape, the line between truth and falsehood is not just blurred, it's under attack. We are no longer just dealing with ignorance. We are dealing with the systematic normalization of misinformation, where lies are repeated so often, so confidently, and so emotionally that they begin to feel true. The rise of misinformation isn't an accident. It's the product of systems that reward sensationalism over substance. Outrage, not accuracy, drives engagement. Emotional appeal, not empirical evidence, fuels virality. And in a culture addicted to speed, simplicity, and instant gratification, thoughtful, nuanced perspectives get left behind. The result is a world where dangerous falsehoods can become mainstream ideas. Take the resurgence of the anti-vaccine movement. Despite overwhelming scientific consensus on the safety and importance of vaccines, misinformation campaigns have convinced millions to distrust them. This isn't just an abstract concern. It's had deadly consequences. Diseases like measles, once eradicated in many regions, have made a comeback. Not because the science changed, but because people stopped listening to it. This is just one example. The consequences of misinformation stretch far beyond public health. They erode trust in institutions, deepen political divides, and undermine our ability to solve collective problems. As people retreat into ideological echo chambers, shared dialogue collapses. The willingness to change one's mind, a sign of intellectual maturity, becomes a rare and risky act. Facts are no longer seen as neutral. They are seen as partisan weapons. As media scholar Gabriele Cosentino warned, we're entering a post-truth era. In this world, truth is no longer defined by evidence, but by emotion. If something feels true, that's enough. Reality becomes subjective, malleable, optional. And when the loudest voices in the room are rewarded, the ability to think critically suffers. People become more vulnerable to scams, to dangerous ideologies, to groupthink. Society, in turn, begins making foolish, short-sighted decisions. Just like in the 17th century tulip mania, where people spent fortunes on flower bulbs, mass delusion can grip entire populations. The difference is, today's delusions are turbocharged by technology. All of this stems from what we might call the decay of our cognitive immune system. Just like our bodies can be weakened by exposure to viruses, our minds are now weakened by constant exposure to junk information. We stop filtering, we stop questioning, we stop thinking, and when that happens, stupidity isn't just an individual failing, it becomes a systemic threat. The German theologian Dietrich Bonhoeffer saw this coming. In the 1940s, while resisting the Nazi regime, he argued that stupidity is more dangerous than evil. I've made a full video on Bonhoeffer's insight and how to protect your mind from this kind of societal decay. It's on the end screen, and the link is in the description as well. Don't miss it if you haven't watched it already.